In a country torn by crisis, a single order has shaken the region. Lebanon has told its army, disarm Hezbollah, backed by Washington and watched by the world. This isn't just politics. This is war by other means. A resistance wounded, a government divided, a deadline that could ignite a storm. And at the heart of it all, the question no one dares to answer. What happens if Hezbollah says no? The Lebanese government has tasked the army with developing a plan in which only state institutions will have weapons by the end of the year. The move would effectively disarm Hezbollah, an Iran-backed Shiite political party and militant group in the country. Germany-based news outlet Deutsche Welle reported that the cabinet's decision follows heavy pressure from the United States to disarm the group. It is part of the broader effort to implement the terms of the November 2024 ceasefire, which aimed to bring an end to over a year of conflict between Israel and Hezbollah, culminating in 2 months of full-scale warfare. According to the agreement, the Lebanese state, through its official institutions such as the army and internal security forces, is to serve as the sole legitimate holder of arms within the country. Prime Minister Nawaf Salam said,
authorizing the Lebanese army with setting an executive plan to confine arms before the end of this current year, in the hands of the forces outlined in the announcement special arrangements of the cessation of hostilities, and submitting it to the Cabinet of Ministers before the 31st of this month for it to be discussed and decided.
The plan is expected to be brought before the Cabinet for discussion and approval by the end of August. Hezbollah, a powerful Lebanese political party and militant organization, is designated as a terrorist group by countries such as the United States and the United Kingdom. It was the only group allowed to retain its weapons after Lebanon's 1975-1990 civil war, citing its role as a resistance force against Israel. Heavily funded and trained by Iran, Hezbollah had long been considered Lebanon's most powerful military force, often surpassing the capabilities of the national army, and was regarded as the most heavily armed non-state actor in the world. However, the recent war with Israel dealt a significant blow to the group. Its weapons stockpiles were severely degraded, and many of its top political and military figures, including its leader Hassan Nasrallah, were killed. Meanwhile, reacting to the cabinet decision, Hezbollah said on Wednesday that the Lebanese government was committing a grave sin by tasking the army with establishing a state monopoly on arms, sharpening a national divide over calls for the Shia Muslim group to disarm. In a written statement on Wednesday, Hezbollah, according to Reuters, said the move was a result of U.S. diktats and that it would deal with it as if it does not exist. Member of Parliament Ali Amar of Hezbollah's Loyalty to Resistance parliamentary bloc announced Wednesday that the group's leadership is evaluating the government's unprecedented decision to monopolize arms before the year's end.
In light of this evaluation, the appropriate decision will be taken, seeing as the party has always been the party that is the keenest on civil peace. The paper that was carried by U.S. Envoy Tom Barrack cannot be described as American, seeing as it is Israel in form and content.
The Lebanese must beware of what Israel is seeking through this paper, because the resistance and the state have honored their commitments while Israel has not. Earlier on Tuesday, Hezbollah leader Sheikh Naim Qasem rejected the US-backed proposal to disarm and vowed that any Israeli escalation would be met with a forceful response.
We do not agree to any new agreement other than the existing agreement between the Lebanese state and the Israeli entity. It is in Israel's interest not to resort to a broad aggression, because if they resort to a broad aggression, the resistance will defend, and the army will defend, and the people will defend. This defense will lead to rockets falling inside the Israeli entity. Resistance to confront Israel is a matter related to Lebanon's charter that is discussed by consensus. Come, let us discuss a national security strategy and a defense strategy. National security goes beyond the issue of weapons because it takes into account Lebanon's strength, the accumulation of strength, the gathering of strength. the attempt to defend and confront the Israeli enemy. The strategy is not a timeline to disarm.
Hezbollah is showing defiance despite months of political and military pressure, including a declaration in June that it would not respond to Israel and US strikes on Iran, out of respect for the Lebanon ceasefire. Israel has long sought the disarmament of Iran's network of proxy groups, but Hezbollah argues there are no credible guarantees that Israel will honor a ceasefire. The group also faces internal pressure, as Lebanon's prolonged economic crisis has tied potential international aid to state control over weapons. U.S. Special Envoy Tom Barrack presented a plan in Beirut on June 19th that called for Hezbollah to disarm by November in exchange for an Israeli troop withdrawal, a halt to airstrikes, economic reforms and border demarcation, according to Reuters. Barrack demanded Hezbollah give up even basic arms in 30 days and cut capabilities by half in return for a limited Israeli pullout. When asked at a July news conference in Beirut whether the US could guarantee Israel's withdrawal, Barrack replied that Washington cannot compel Israel to act. In July and early August, incidents along the Israel-Lebanon border put the US-brokered ceasefire under strain. Meanwhile, Lebanon's government is under mounting pressure to secure external financial support, particularly from Gulf countries and international financial bodies. As part of these efforts, growing internal and international voices are urging Hezbollah to disarm or at least significantly reduce its military role. The country is in the midst of one of the most severe financial collapses in the world. According to the Tahrir Institute for Middle East Policy, 2025, Lebanon's GDP has plummeted by over 38%, while its currency has lost more than 98% of its value since 2019. The crisis has been compounded by widespread corruption, chronic mismanagement, and the persistent failure to implement credible reforms. In an interview with Lebanon's LBC TV, Barrack emphasized that Gulf nations, historically key players in Lebanon's economic recovery, remain reluctant to provide financial aid without clear and substantial reforms, along with guarantees that those reforms will be enforced. While it remains to be seen whether Hezbollah will disarm, the issue has already heightened tensions in an already volatile Middle East.